It says recording started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. It's the improv edition. We're sorry we've been away. It's just, as life tends to do, gets in the way. We've been away at work and stuff. Our schedules haven't aligned. Johnny has been wearing his best tweed jacket with suede elbow patches, so he's not been around this week. Joanne Anders Fernandoson Magellan is off gallivanting all the time. He just seems to, when we asked him if he's free, he sends us pictures of him drinking beer on a beach somewhere, usually with something offensive underneath. And Rory's been away doing Rory things. Who knows what he's up to up there? That crazy man that he is. Anyway, so it's, as the trend these days, co-captaincy here. It's me, Ian Hay, and beside me, the prop forward professional, Mr. Craig Manson. How are you, Craig?
I'm doing well. It's lovely to be here, and professional. It's been a while since I've been described as professional.
Yeah, same here. To be honest with you, so we're going to rattle through this because it's Friday night. This was the only time we had free to do it, and there's the Warriors game kicking off about half an hour.
You can take as long as you want.
Absolutely not. I don't even have it recording because it's clashing with other stuff. So I need to.
Oh my word!
Speed it up, Cranston. None of these resets. So the big news. We'll start one big bit of news from today. Richie Gray, the Rutherglen Lighthouse copyright Jamie Lyle, is going to be leaving Glasgow Warriors at the end of November. Came with a bit of a surprise. Obviously, he's part of. He'd come back to the Warriors a couple of seasons ago during the. I don't know the most polite way to describe the Danny Wilson era, but we know what he brings.
The bin fire of Danny Wilson's era.
That's good enough. I'll let you say. I don't want to get accused of not being a supporter again. Richie Gray. He is 35 now. Craig. I found the news surprising, but then when I consider some of the options, obviously the man has. The guy was a superstar when I was still in my 20s, so that tells you how long he's been a top class performer. Then obviously he struggled with injuries a lot, so he didn't play a lot for Scotland. But he went away to France. He picked up a top 14 championship there. Came back to Glasgow. Is now a URC champion. Sorted out or line out woes. How can't you when you're 6'10"? Before that, of course, he was a really dynamic ball carrier as well. But I suppose time catches up with us all, Craig. Were you surprised with the news?
Half and half. I think I'm surprised because we weren't expecting it. It was not something that we thought would happen. We thought that he had his time roaming the countryside and pastures abroad, and we thought that he'd had his time at Toulouse and he was done, and he's come back to Glasgow to kind of play out the end of his career. But everything, I'll say we do not know this before. I'm just put caveat in this first before anybody says anything. But really, the way it's working out, and he's finishing up in November. We were talking earlier ourselves between ourselves on our wee chat that it definitely looks like it's going to be Japan. Mainly because he's finishing up in November and the Japan season starts in December. So it sounds very much like he is going to be. He's off for his retirement fund. His pension pot needs just a wee top up. And funnily enough, a certain person that he knows very well and has played with for many years is a coach out there, Mr. Greig. So you never know.
I was about to say, certain Mr. Laidlaw. I think there's a couple of Laidlaws out there just now, isn't there? Is Chris still out there? Was Chris not involved with Glasgow, Glasgow women, and then he's left as well. So it'll be interesting to see where they're going. But yeah, it looks like John. It looks like he's away, and it's a real. He is a. And good luck to him. Well done. Go and make some money. He was the original OG of going over to France and playing for Toulouse.
and making a bit of money. Maybe he didn't make the money that Finn Russell's made, and I don't know if Billy Kinghorn will be making massive amounts of money out at Toulouse. I hope he is, but good luck to him, and he's been a great stalwart for us. But I don't think you'll see him playing for Scotland if he's in Japan, because he'll not be travelling backwards and forwards.
Yeah, it's more surprising when the rumours of George Turner going over. I mean, that's the thing, that the George Turner rumours started early, and I poo-pooed them. They're like, nah, man, there's still a couple of years left for him, 6 Nations to go. Gray has just come out of the blue, although, once it's come out of the blue, I'm like, well, you know what, I can understand that, because he's not going to make the next World Cup. Max Williamson has come through and been excellent for Glasgow. I mean, Johnny was saying, in our little private chat, he still reckons Richie Gray's Scotland's best lock. I think it's Scott Cummings. And also you've got, who else coming? Alex Samuel is coming through at Glasgow. I think Gregor Brown can play lock there. And for Scotland, you've got, I think Hodgson is probably the best at Edinburgh that's breaking through. So I think we're started there, but Richie Gray, fantastic servant to Glasgow over two spells, and go and earn some yen.
Yeah, I think the only thing though I would say is that, and this is the problem I have with Edinburgh at the moment, is the fact that I would argue a little bit. I'm not going to say that Grant Gilchrist is the best lock in Scotland. I would say he's up there, and he's one. Everyone has talked about him being a very, very good line-out operator. The problem we have is that Edinburgh's line-outs are currently shocking, and so we can't really turn around and I would love to sit here and defend Edinburgh and say, no, what Johnny McGinty's talking rubbish. That Richie Gray's the best Scottish lock. I thought about Grant Gilchrist, but we are at a situation where our line-outs have been pretty poor within Scotland and also with Edinburgh. And Glasgow's aren't phenomenal. They're okay, but you did have a Richie Gray and am I right in saying a Dupree? No, what's the lad's name?
JP Dupree. He's been under for a while. He's due to come back as well.
He just needed to just jump up in the air, and he was 10 foot above everybody else. I think I don't think Johnny's right, but then I would never usually agree with Johnny. But I think Richie Gray has been. I'll tell you what Richie Gray is the best at when it comes to line-out is reading other people's line-outs, and he's a great disruptor. And he always has been. So, good luck to him.
I will take some umbrage with you saying Glasgow's line-out doesn't function that well, because Johnny Matthews, how do you think he gets all his tries?
Well, that's very true. I'm not saying...
We kick to the corner all the time, so eventually something's going to stick.
Exactly. I'm not saying that the line-out doesn't work well. I'm saying that it's not the best it could be. It's better than Edinburgh's, and if they can bring that sort of line-out skills into Scotland, then we'll be happier, because the Scottish line-out hasn't been great either. So, so Glasgow is the better of the three if we're talking about them.
Okay, so we've got 3 teams to talk about. We have Edinburgh, Glasgow, and Scotland Women. What order would you like to do that in, Craig? Should we go worst to best, or like best? And by the way, best is going to be Scotland Women. Just because they've got the 100% win rate.
Yeah, but let's do what I always talk about in business. When you're talking about being a leader in business, you always give your colleagues and people who work with you, if you're
the sandwich.
Yeah, a poo sandwich. Let's get good poo in the middle, good at the end. So let's get and obviously we've got to talk about Scotland Women first, because they are the leading lights, and let's let them lead.
Okay, but I was going to say that's the best bit, and usually save the best bit for the end. But okay, we'll go with your side. This is the nicely toasted side, when when you're making a toasty sandwich and one bit's always a bit better.
Aye.
So we'll start with that. Scotland's kicked off their WXV2 campaign last Saturday, shortly after, or was it? I think it was still during the Edinburgh Bulls game.
Yes.
And manky conditions in Cape Town. It's absolutely thundering down with rain. Scotland managed to come away, unfortunately, without the BP win, but a 19-0 win against Italy. Craig, I missed the first, I think, 15 minutes of it. But other than that, from what I saw, I thought it was such a very good defensive performance. We've got an article of talking points on the Scottish Rugby blog, which you should read. That's not you, Craig. That's not directed at you. That's the general you who are listening. I think Craig's already read it. What did you make of? Did you see any of the game, Craig, or what did you make of?
I think where we are with Scotland women is that we're starting to see the ability to. We've got a team that we can rotate. We can bring in. We seem to be developing a large amount of depth. The defence, whomever has been, and I don't know who the defence coach is, and I'll have to find out, because whomever's coming to run the defence for Scotland women it deserves a bonus, because their defence has gone from okay to absolutely fantastic, and it gives you, it makes, and I'm a believer of, defence wins games, and they are showing that. To nil a country, to nil an international squad, is a very, very difficult thing to do. And Italy have always been a bogey team for Scotland. And just as our colleague who's written in the Scottish Rugby blog on the article has said, the weather that they had in that game and the Italian squad that they had, that they were playing against, that is a game we would usually lose, or we could lose. I think actually it was Rachel Malcolm had actually said it at the end of the game as well. And so I think the defence has been fantastic. The forward work has been absolutely amazing. They're really giving a great platform for the backs to work on, to work from, just they are looking a very, very decent squad, and who knew paying them a wage would have actually sorted something like that out. So yeah, fantastic. Really showing a massive step up of ability. And they're now in a situation, I think, was it 12 out of the last 14 games they've won. So, it's momentum is a great thing, and having momentum behind you. The big mo as it's been described in the West Wing. They've got the big mo. Momentum's coming, baby.
I've never seen the West Wing, so I think it's on the list. I completely agree with that. I think when we'd spoken about it before, I've mentioned Italy had this tactic against Scotland, sort of going against the grain, and they offloaded a lot through their forwards. They've even caused England bothers with that before. But one thing that I noted was the quality of choke tackle, being able to hold them up, slow things down. I was wondering as well, is that perhaps, I don't know what exact role Fraser Brown has. Is he maybe on defence coach? Certainly he's doing some forward work.
Yeah.
Do you think he's assisting there?
I think he's, he'll certainly help them with penalties, but giving away rather than actually stopping them. No.
Was it not Tyrone Holmes? Is Tyrone Holmes the defence coach?
I think it is, yeah. I think it is. Because Fraser Brown's come in to help with the forwards and set piece. And, that is obviously having a very, very good effect, because the forwards are looking incredibly strong. And, just by the way, Evie Gallagher, again, marauding.
Ridiculous player.
Just amazing.
So you say, in this piece, when we've been on this Scotland women's journey, this squad that have been together for so long, Brian Eason, and even before that, the Irish guy's name, whose name is just slipped my mind.
Pat.
Well, they tended to stick with primarily a 15. I remember a lot of times someone like Panache Muzambi would be on the bench and she wouldn't get a minute. Even the front row would be playing 80 minutes. This weekend, last weekend there, Lisa Thompson's on the bench, Rhoda Lloyd's out of the 23, and Jade the Conqueror, the glass ceiling breaker.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing an evolution now of this team that are still, there's still the spine of them there. Your Rachel Malcolms, Lana Skeldon, that. We're now seeing an evolution of players like, this is the standard, now we're getting better. Because Evie Gallagher, like you've mentioned there, just an absolute menace at the breakdown. And then second place for the most tackles, Emma Orr. And Emma Orr is just spectacular. I think with Gallagher or Fran McGee, we're in a very good place.
Very much so. I really have to, this is just, just for anyone who's listening for the first time, normally we don't always agree with each other, but I'm I can't agree more. Emma Orr, I really have liked the look of Emma Orr ever since she made her debut. She's just got a free-flowing play. She comes across as someone who, she's got a boot on her. She can kick through and chase. If she's got someone like someone outside her who's quick, she can put the boot to ball. She's got a nice pass on her. She's not afraid of contact. She really will. She can shrug her. She can get her way through the middle of two tacklers and get an offload away. Really, really a classy player. But we have even the players who are maybe the guaranteed 15 2-3 years ago. Their skills have been up. They've been upskilled as well, and they're better and better and better. The only thing that really, we probably left 3 tries out there on the weekend, mainly because of, the weather didn't help, but it looks like our skills are right on the edge now, and we're going to get to a point where even if it's bad weather, the skills are going to overtake and we're going to be able to get the ball to hand, etc. We're just at that point where you take your eye off the ball 1 second, or it's a wet, horrible day. You're going to drop the ball, and it just causes a few issues. So I think we're being picky here because, as we've talked about before, very rarely did we ever talk about Italy and Scotland winning. So we're winning well, and so we can't complain too much, and we're being incredibly picky about this. But if there's anything to work on, it's just getting, they've got the skills. They're obviously working hard on the skills. It's just a matter of making sure those, the focus doesn't drift slightly. I worry about the choke tackle thing. I like the choke tackle, but what tends to happen especially if you watch Edinburgh a lot, and also Scotland at times, when you're trying to hold someone up in a choke tackle, or you concentrate on the choke tackle, you don't stop the momentum going forward for a good 3 or 4 yards, or a couple of meters. And what worries me is that if you're trying to constantly go for choke tackles, 2 things: you've got the ability to go in as a high tackle and give a penalty away, but second of all, people can still move on 2 or 3 meters and then recycle the ball and move on again. So they have to be careful with the choke tackles. But no, they're looking so good just now. I really, they're a WXV1 team. They deserve to be up there, and I hope they're going to win this again and get the chance to go up.
Pretty much, yes. I agree with that. Also, another thing about MR, I'd noticed, I think it was around about an hour mark when we were only 2 tries to the good. Italy were doing phase after phase. Like I said, she was hitting rucks as well as tackles. She was clearing out. I mean, this is a prime athlete who, surprisingly, I don't know if not. Oh, she's on the bench against Japan. The team has been announced. It's Chloe Rowley at the back, Rona Lloyd back in the 23, starting on the right wing, Meryl Smith at 13 with Lisa Thompson inside centre, Fran McGee on the left, Helen Nelson, who has been very, very good of late. She's at standoff and is the vice captain. Katie Mattinson, scrum half. Then to the forwards to go, we've got Leah Bartlett, loose head, Lana Skeldon. I mean, the Bartlett, Skeldon, Belle, that's your go-to front row, isn't it, really?
Yeah, very much so.
Yep. Louise McMillan, Sarah Bonner in the engine room, and then Rachel Malcolm, the captain. Alex Stewart starting at 7, and then Jade Conkle, Jade the Conqueror is back playing at 8. Maybe try to show Evie Gallagher that she's not going away. Apparently, it's going to be scorching. Jade Conkle wrote on Twitter it's going to be 32 degrees. What's yeah, well, 1 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock British kickoff time, so that's 2 o'clock South Africa. It's going to be a hot one. What do you make of that, then, Craig?
Yeah, I think Brian Easton's definitely rotated the squad slightly, so that against what can be a team that can be a poorer squad against Scotland. But the big thing with Japan is, as we all know, with the Japan's men's team, they are able to put a scare on you now and then. So they have to be careful. But I would expect, and when I say it's not like they're rotating poor players in. Again, as we talked about earlier, we've got a squad now that you could rotate players in that are just as capable, just as good as the players that they're replacing. So Evie Gallagher's on the bench. We've got Jade Conkle in. Jade Conkle was the go-to for many, many years. It'll be interesting to see how she's going starting again, and then it'll be interesting to see if there's a pickup in performance when Evie Gallagher comes on. It's really interesting to see. But yeah, certain players needed a bit of a rest. So I think rotating the squad is the correct thing to do.
Especially with those conditions, as mentioned. Well, Evie Gallagher made 22 carries last weekend.
Yeah.
I think the most I've seen from Jade is maybe like 32, but that's because she was the only decent player at the time, probably. Anyway, will we go for a bit of poo in the middle there, Craig?
Yeah.
Will we talk about Edinburgh?
Yeah, we can move on to Edinburgh.
It's not huge poo. I mean, how much poo are we talking here?
It's not. This is the thing. It's again. It's. I can see the improvement that's coming through. I listened to. There was another podcast on that had Sean Everett on, and he's clearly lost. He's through the honeymoon period now, and and there was a lot of discussion about things that were discussed on this podcast about. He has mentioned that there are players out there, if they continue to do the things that weren't discussed or perform badly, they will be replaced. He is obviously at the end of his sort of breaking in period where he's like, yep, okay, we're going to work away and see how this goes and see how that goes. I think he's now getting to the sharp end and realising that he needs to get performance out of the players and they need to start winning. Don't get me wrong, Munster lost 8 in a row at the beginning of the last URC, 2 years ago in the URC, and then won it, ended up winning at the end. So I'm not saying we're going to win the URC, although I have said that before. But I think there are green shoots there. There are obvious good happening. Our defence is a lot better, but it's still every so often we click back into the old defensive shape and we let against Leinster we're doing quite well until we let 2 or 3 tries. I think it was 2 tries in really close together. So I don't know really where to. There's not a lot I can really say at the moment. I'm finding it very, very frustrating. I think the game against the Bulls was winnable because they were a poor Bulls team. They didn't play very well at all on the weekend. So the game was winnable there with the team that was out there. So these are the sort of games that we have to take advantage of, and unfortunately we're not doing that at the moment.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I've watched both of them, or most of both of them. I missed the first 10, 15 minutes of the. Well, it was only about 10 minutes of the Bulls game. The Leinster game, I think both games were winnable. Leinster game, like you said, there was some very good moments of defence, and then Ali Price has had a bit of a nightmarish moment where he's fluffed a box kick and then Hector stepped him. One thing, a few things, obviously. Yeah. But the Leinster game, I looked at my notes, and you know what, Darcy Graham, I didn't even realise Darcy Graham was on for an hour. And here's the thing, if you've got a player of that much quality, and I've not seen him for that long, you're not really using him properly, I don't think. I struggle. Edinburgh seem to be they're a very good sort of counter-attacking breakdown. They seem like they want to be better at defending than attacking, and then using guys like Doohan to do something spectacular. They don't seem to build through phases properly. And then when I look at who's going to be their main ball carrier, if they're going to be a forward-orientated team, who's going to be that carrier? Koeman's very good at it. Bradbury as well. You know, he's coming in to replace Big Bill. Richie Watson, I don't really see that. I don't really see that from Sykes. Gilchrist can do it. Sykes and Hodgson, they seem more like set piece specialists. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think Sykes, Hodgson, yes. I think Crosby, when he's fit, is a go forward player, a good ball carrier. I think Sykes is, and I certainly wouldn't want to be up against Sykes trying to defend him. The issue with Sykes is that at the moment, and he has been for the last couple of years, the event gets to him and he ends up giving away a stupid penalty. And it just seems to be that, you know, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it's just he needs to become a more rounded player. He doesn't have to do it all himself. And he's a bit, you know, he's reminding me of a few Scotland players who decide that, you know, I've had enough of this, I'm going to do this all myself, and then gets too carried away and ends up giving away a penalty. And it's unfortunate because he is a fantastic player. Muncaster as well. Muncaster looks great. He's back from injury. You know, we really have missed him.
Absolutely drilled somebody in one of the games.
Yeah. But again, this is the issue we have, and my concern. You know, we're scrummaging really, really well. Our line-out's gone to shit. Oh, excuse my language. But our line-out has gone a bit awry again, which is worrying considering one of the hookers that we have is meant to be Scotland's number one. But I think the problem we have is that Sean Everett seems to be wanting to build up the strength and the carrying abilities of Edinburgh, which he is doing. But currently, as you've just said, we're not getting the ball to the players that really bring Edinburgh alive, and that is our wingers. Is there someone trying to kill somebody in your house at the moment? Because it's like someone's playing the drums in the background.
I don't know. No, I wasn't doing it.
Anyway, don't worry about it.
Sorry, I think it's moving. Sorry. Continue.
So yeah, I think we're very, very strong forward wise. We seem to be fairly contact heavy. We look really, really happy at going into contact. The problem is we're getting to this point where we're almost Scotland, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where we're battering the door on a regular basis and not knowing when to stop. And then all of a sudden the ball gets turned over. We're getting into 22. We're working hard in the 22. But then all of a sudden somebody turns the ball over when actually we should be putting the ball out into the backs and getting them out to Darcy and getting them out to Matt Scott, who I think has really come in and shown a bit of class coming into Edinburgh in these last couple of games.
Yeah, I think actually one of my sort of round-up notes is Edinburgh are very Scottish because it's one of they're being competitive against. You know, I mean, let's remember that Bills and Leinster are two of the highest-rated teams in the competition, below certain someone, you know. Yeah. But the Bills game, there's just a couple. It's those clutch moments, and then the Moody breakaway try, for example, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's very disappointing. But you know, there's hope yet, and obviously Darcy Graham is still coming back from his injuries. and whatnot. Who do you think gets pass marks out of the first couple of games? Jamie Ritchie is back to being Jamie Ritchie.
Yeah, Jamie Ritchie, I think, is just as you say. I think I have to say this, and there will be howls from Edinburgh fans, but Jamie Ritchie needs a couple of years away. He needs a couple of years in the English Premiership or in France, because I think he will grow as again. It's like this. You look at all these talismanic players that are in Scotland, and you look at Darcy Graham. You look at Jamie Ritchie. You look at Hamish Watson. Look at Blair Kinghorn. Blair Kinghorn was nailed on going to be a club player a Scottish club player for the rest of his playing life. Everyone would just, every Scottish pundit, every Scottish fan would have said, "Oh, Blair Kinghorn's going to play for Edinburgh for all of his time." Look at how, yeah, absolutely. Look at how he has developed going to France. Look at how, and no matter, and John Anderson's not here, so I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to get howls of derision from him. But look at Magnus Bradbury. He has been a leading light. He has been a massive part of that Bristol squad for 2 years, and started most of the games for Bristol. And he's come back, and he is a different player. He is a stronger, fitter, more adventurous player because of it. And I think Jamie Ritchie, I think, is wonderful. I think he's a great player. He's a phenomenal player for Scotland. But actually, I think he could do with a couple of years in a different team, with a different coaching setup, and just to develop him, because he's a phenomenal turnover king. Everyone knows that. I'd like to see a little bit more from him in the open, and see how I'd like to see a little bit more from his hands, etc. He's had some really nice handoffs, had some really nice offloads and things like that in some of the Scotland games. But there's little things like that. I think, for me, Wes Goosen really has taken on the 15 shirt really well, because obviously Emiliano Buffelli has fallen down to injury again, and this could be a bad one. This could be another 6 months out almost. So yeah, if you're looking for pass marks, I think Goosen. I think Matt Scott really has brought a lot of clasp into the centre partnership. I really like the look of young Tuipulotu, although he's on the bench. Yeah, absolutely. I like the look of him. Ben Velicott, as usual. I just think he should be starting all the time. He just brings so much to the game. And then obviously the forwards are doing well as usual.
It feels kind of like Velicott's been using the George Horn fashion of we've tried being controlling, now we need 20 minutes of madness. The bonus point try at Edinburgh and they're getting against Leinster, I mean, that's all on Velicott. He's a very good sniper. He of course was in the same age grade as George Horn, so they were kind of neck and neck, and I think George Horn was the more regular starter for under-20s.
Yeah.
I have two very good players. Right, we'll quickly do Glasgow because I think I've missed kick-off. So obviously the first game was an agonising 2019 defeat away to Ulster, 84th minute try, even though I'm pretty sure Rory Darge had a clean turnover, penalised in the 82nd minute. It felt like one Glasgow could have won. Tom Jordan and, here's the thing with Jamie Ritchie and, we're talking about great Scotland back rows and the options we have. Rory Darge made 39 tackles in the game against Ulster. It's the second highest recorded in URC. We're talking about a generational talent, I feel, with Darge. Also, Tom Jordan was excellent defensively. Well, Glasgow were defending numerous Ulster attacks. Then he goes and gets charged down and gives away a try. That was an unfortunate one. Then against Benetton, 42-10 win. Started very brightly. Have you seen any of this, Craig, the Glasgow games?
Unfortunately, I completely missed it, unfortunately. Sorry, so I'm going to have to go with you.
That's quite all right. my gushing review. So, like the first 2 tries, it's all about Tom Jordan's moved, but was playing at 12, so that Adam Hastings could play 10. Unfortunately, at half time, he had to get hooked because of a rather nasty head shot, which saw the red card for Benetton.
Mm.
The first 2 tries, it's all about Tuipulotu. The first one, it's that famous pullback. Because this is the thing with Tuipulotu. Everyone knows he can barrel right through you. So while players are bracing themselves for impact, and someone else will come in and like, he's going to bounce right through him, I'm going to have to hit him next. He then throws that pullback. Either it's to Hugh Jones or this occasion it's Josh Mackay. The brilliant Josh Mackay. So Glasgow's first try was a thing of beauty from deep. The second one, Tuipulotu, this time it is to straighten up. He barrels through somebody, spins round. There you go, Matt Ferguson, get yourself a wee cheeky try. Then Benetton, despite some people's protestations, are a dangerous team. Came back into it. But then there was the red card on Hastings is absolutely shocking. Scott Scrafton, Hastings gone for a little dink over him. Scrafton, who's huge, just kind of stays upright and turns his shoulder into Hastings' face. So it had to be a red card. And then after I kind of made it a no contest, even though Benetton scored the first points in the second half. Again, the man of the match, 2 tries, even though he went off after 50 minutes, came back on due to an HIA. Kyle Stein with 2 tries. Now, Doohan, when we were talking there about Edinburgh not using their, strike men, Doohan has scored 2 tries against Leinster. Both walk-ins, not the usual ones that, we see him score. But Kyle Stein is just sensationally good at the moment. 3 tries in 2 games. I think he leads for line breaks. Benetton had a try cut off. Benetton's been given a try because they'd only checked the grounding. But then Kyle Stein spoke to the ref. He said, "No, there's a forward pass earlier on. Check the forward pass." He's so good with referees. He rarely makes mistakes. I think this man is absolute class. I think he's actually better than Sean Maitland. This is how good I think Kyle Stein is. And I think he has to be in the Scotland team.
I think you're right on several points. And I'm going to say something here, again, that Scotland fans may not like. What we do need is players like Stein who will give you a lot of different abilities. Because if you look at, and this is the issue I have, is that you look at the Duhan van der Merwe, for example. Duhan van der Merwe is a phenomenal strike runner, as in when he gets a point, when he starts to get his speed up and runs at people, they drop off tackles, etc., because he's a big lad and he's going to hurt them. He has got a bit of a step, etc. The problem I have, and where I think there's the ability to have Stein coming in instead of him, is the fact that you might find that when Duhan tries to step inside or tries to tries to use his own initiative, it doesn't end well. He's also not as good under a high ball as Stein is. So I think when you're looking at, we are going to have some fantastic wingers available to us for Scotland and for the autumn and also the Six Nations. But I think you're probably right. There's a good chance that we'll see a bit more of Stein in the Scotland squad, and also you might find that Duhan will be left alone, and it will be Darcy because Darcy's been the one that's been replaced, because we're not exactly sure where Darcy is yet. But I'd rather have Darcy and Stein than lose Darcy and have Duhan van der Merwe and Stein, if you know what I mean. And that's my personal opinion, just because I just think Doohan's just a bit of a one-trick pony at the moment, I feel. And I think he's been found out by a lot of defences.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of time he turns himself. Sometimes he feels like he has to go, F it, I'll do it myself. He turns into traffic and then he gets isolated. So sometimes I feel like his teammates should know that's what he's going to try and do. Go and help him. But then, whereas someone like Kyle Steyn, yes, I mean, we saw it, we saw it at the weekend when he assisted Jamie Dobie's try. We saw it against England in the build-up to, I can't remember whose try. Now, he's not going to burst the last three players on the way to try line. What he will do is beat two of them, cut inside, and then make the right decision.
Yes.
To recycle. He'll hold up, he'll either offload from the deck or he'll go, right, I'll protect this ball. Who's coming in? Right, cool. We're clear now. Now we're moving. His game smarts are just on a higher level than Doohan's.
And I think that's where George Horne is getting his, has got such a large amount of tries. Kyle Steyn's assists for George Horne, I have to say, I'm sure they're quite high, because it tends to be Kyle Steyn steps inside, makes quite a good break, and then offloads to George Horne to score the try. So I think that there is that. But anyway, as I say, there's Glasgow got a lot of people to look at and be thankful for. Josh Mackay has really come into it. I think Josh Mackay was good. You could see he was good, but he was a bit in the weeds for a wee while with Danny Wilson, and then all of a sudden, he really has come to the fore now. Jamie Dobie's getting more and more game time, which I think is very, very good. I think he is a talent, as we all talked about before, but he never really got used very much. I think he was injured as well for a wee while, if I remember correctly. And then Iain Ferry, come on, fantastic debut, and he's doing incredibly well with Glasgow.
Actually, speaking of, seeing she said Ewan Ashman, or Ewan Ashman was, you thought, Scotland's first choice hooker. Greg Hiddleston. Is doing incredibly well. It's encouraging to see these guys coming through. Like, I mean,
is it Hiddleston? I've maybe mixed him up with Iain Ferry.
Iain Ferry's back row.
Aye. No, Iain Ferry, actually. Iain Ferry, I'm
maybe, you know what, like, seeing as it's Scottish, though, like, they're probably hookers and back rowers at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, absolutely.
There was a wee moment of magic, near magic, which would have become as synonymous as the Tooney flip, the Tom Jordan slap, which I got cut off for Glasgow against Benetton. Tuipulotu tickled one through, Jordan chasing it down the touchline, flicks it inside. Unfortunately, the try was given, but then they reviewed it and it was unfortunately just forward.
Yeah.
But I'd say with Glasgow, obviously losing the first game. I mean, like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 seasons ago, we started against Ulster during the dark Danny Wilson days, and it was one of these ones. It was like a bit like, well, worse than what Edinburgh got. Started competitively, looked threatening, and then just get sucker punched. Oh man, how much did it hurt when Jaco van der Walt crossed?
Oh yeah, no comment. Oh. I just, mind you, let two things. Van der Walt was underused by Edinburgh. He was a very good defender for Edinburgh, and he was a safe pair of hands at 10 when everything else around you was burning down. Van der Walt at 10 was a good pair of hands, and I'm glad he's found somewhere that he's happy at and he's being used. Because the whole thing of Van der Walt coming in and being a Scottish, he got how many? I think it's 2 caps or 3 caps for Scotland. It's just ridiculous, to be honest with you. We were in such a poor position at that time when Tooney was having these wee spats with Finn, but I just think I'm just pleased for him. All these players that come and go out of Edinburgh and Glasgow, etc., and they may not settle as well in Scotland as maybe they hoped. good luck to them. They're due, finding a team that they're happy with.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm not happy about him scoring.
That, like you said, in the Leinster game, there was 2 tries conceded in quick succession, and it was the same in the Bulls game. Kind of mean the flanker scored, and then Vanderbilt did. Anyway, Craig, I've missed the start of the Glasgow game. Shall we wrap this one up?
We will. Yes, absolutely.
Sorry for being away, folks, but we will we'll be back more frequently. We promise. I think.
We'll be back next week, definitely.
Right. So for me and Craig, cheerio and good night. Ta.
Good night. Have a good weekend.